but I met him when I came to Birmingham. I think it was it's in the late 70s. I actually came to live here in 1980, but I met him before that when I used to come to Comrade Jagmohan Joshi's bookshop in Selly Oak. And I got introduced to the members of what was then, I think it was called the Birmingham Communist Association. And as I understand it, Brian was involved in that organization from the beginning, and it emerged out of a reading group with George Thompson, who was the author of From Marx to Mao Zedong, etc., Capitalism and After. And we got together in an organization I was involved in at the time called the Revolutionary Communist League. And eventually the BCA merged with the Revolutionary Communist League and became the Birmingham branch. Brian was somebody who strongly supported the working class and the peoples of the oppressed nationalities in Britain, and particularly the struggles of the peoples of national liberation against imperialism in the exploited world. And he was a strong, committed Marxist, supporter of Mao Zedong thought at a time when the situation in China was very different to what it is today. He was also a trade unionist. He became at one point the convener of the East Birmingham Hospital where he worked, but he had no illusions in trade unionism. He fought for the working class. He fought for the workers that he was responsible for as a shop steward and as a convener, but he understood that the trade unions in this country were essentially corrupt, and he would have defined them as part of the labor aristocracy. But nonetheless, he saw the need to continue to struggle in that arena. He continued after the demise of the organization that we were in. Brian continued to strongly support the ideology of Marxism and anti-imperialism. And he was an extremely erudite, committed, and reliable comrade, and one who will be sincerely missed.
Brian, through Ijaz and Phil, because their house was the center, and I think we were involved in basically anti-imperialist struggles and supporting various national liberation struggles that were taking place at the time and still taking place now. So that's how I met him. And he also, later on, I think we got involved in discussions about where Marxism-Leninism is going in terms of various movements and various organizations that we were separately part of, because I wasn't part of the same Marxist-Leninist organization that Brian and Jim were part of. So in that sense, but we were working together, and I think when we were organizing Pakistani Workers Association, Brian was involved because one of the pillars that the Pakistani Workers Association was engaged in was internationalism as well, and Brian played a role in that, and also in the progressive and trade union movements in this country. So again, we worked together on those issues, fighting against immigration laws, against racist attacks, against racist murder, against racist murders that were taking place at the time as well. So when he was very principled in everything that he did, and particularly in the trade union movement, we were both belonged to very similar unions. I think at the end, he belonged to the same union branch as I did. But I think when we were originally struggling in the 70s and 80s, the trade union movement was very different to what it is today. I think Brian played a very active part in all those. I think one of the things that we were involved in discussions about what was happening in India in terms of land grabs, and I think he was involved in those campaigns here recently, after in the 2000s. We had meetings in IWA Center, and I think him and Ijaz were part of those debates as well. So he was a very active comrade. His loss would be difficult to replace, but I think he would have left a mark on the movement itself.
I'm still in the process of accepting and the fact that Brian's gone after such a short period of illness. In a way, I'm still in the reflective stage. So I don't think I can do him justice really, but I first met him when I actually moved to Birmingham from Liverpool, and we actually were living in Brian and Nin's house, sharing the house with them. So they had a very, Brian had a very sort of humble background that he talked about, and that's the way he lived as well. It's a very sort of not non-materialistic approach to life, personal life. Politically, yes, I've known him since about 1980. The things that other two have mentioned, but one other thing was he was also involved in the Troops Out movement and supporting the Irish struggle at the time when it was not popular to do so. He was very well read. He had a good analysis. At a time in the 70s and 80s, theory of the three worlds and all that, he was able to put that in practice actually, and at the same time being active in the solidarity movements and things. So yes, I think he had a sort of lovely manner of making things clear, but in a very sort of precise way, and humorous way as well. So that's all I can say at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else would like to contribute?
I think like Copeland, I'm too still in the process of, understanding what's happened really. I got to know Brian about in the 80s, I think. I can't even remember what channels brought me to him actually. It must have been through Jim and Copeland, Phil and Ijaz. But yeah, in addition to what everybody else has said, I think I always found him a very kind and considerate person, very pithy in his analysis of very complex matters. He always had a really good global perspective on anything, and he always went to the nutshell of any arguments, bringing all the sort of complexities to it. And I think he had a very unwavering approach to his revolutionary commitments and stuff, and also he lived it, you know, like he was very anti-consumerist, lived a very simple, humble life, really. I think he must have thought we were all very extravagant in all our lifestyles, you know. So yeah, and I think he had a very dry sense of humor, you know.
Yes.
He was very funny with everything, and always made me laugh. And you know, lately I've been walking with him about 3 times a week. We walk together, so I got to know him a little bit more, and I miss him, and think we'll continue to miss him, really.
Okay, thank you very much. Would anybody like to say something?
I just want to say that I believe I met Brian in around about 1975 when I started my university in Aston University, and and we met at the, you know, Progressive Books on Asian Arts, Joshi's book in Erdington, I think it was. And we used to have, I think it was every Thursday night, we used to have a student workers discussion group. And Brian always turned up with a partner. And I'm not too sure whether he, you know, what happened to that partnership, whether that actually flourished to later ages, I don't know. But I left Birmingham in 1975. But during those few years, you know, he was a committed attendee to the discussion groups, and we read all sorts of things. And I do remember a number of progressive social evenings, which Joshi was quite good at organizing, you know, where we had the Kashmiris, the Pakistanis, and the trade unionists and things like that. And I do believe that Brian used to come there and give his cultural performance with a guitar and sing working class songs, perhaps mostly, I think, Irish related working class songs. So those are sort of very distant recollections I have of Brian as a committed, serious comrade. And it's only through your group now that I have actually rediscovered Brian. And we have become Facebook friends, and he's always commenting on my, you know, contributions and things like that. And I was really, really looking forward to having a nostalgic chats with him and explore each other's ideas in terms of replenishing my Marxism and Mao thought. And I was really looking forward to engaging in serious discussions with him, because I think he's a marvelous comrade, very level-headed comrade, I guess, to be acquainted with. He's going to be, I feel like all of you, but I feel, you know, we've been cheated. I really wanted to get to know him a lot more in the few, you know, since my acquaintance with him. So sadly going to be missed by all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Like many of us, I met Brian at Phil and Ejaz's place, and then used to bump into him at various demos and sort of Palestine Solidarity Campaign stalls and so on. And it became very clear that he was a very principled person, and he deeply cared about people suffering from, you know, capitalist, imperialist, racist, neocolonial oppression, irrespective of his ideological sort of commitment. There was a genuine, I felt that there was a genuine compassion that he had for people globally who were suffering from oppression, and his position regarding how ordinary people, the working class people in the West, have colluded with these oppressive dynamics was also quite consistent. with him being committed to the principles of justice. So I think probably the best can be said about any of us was true for Brian. That is, he had genuine care and compassion for the powerless and oppressed people of the world. And I think I'm sure that his commitment to justice, his broad and global sort of perspective, his thoughts and his efforts will be missed by all of us. And yeah, so sincere condolences to his family and loved ones. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Yeah, hello there.
Okay.
It's right, Billu here.
Billu, okay.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I remember I meeting I think it's right mid-80s, early 80s, because we were very active around what was happening in Ireland and in Kashmir. There's a lot of work being done and protest campaigns, and I remember quite a lot of meetings the campaigns against right migration, and he was involved. I remember being at right meetings. But I think what was interesting that he used to attend and used to talk to him, and I don't think he sensed that he was trying to push any line or any particular right argument. He was quite reflective. He was quite. He used to listen to what was being said. He used to say what had to be said. And actually, right, interestingly, I don't remember he was selling any right papers at all, because everybody who used to attend used to be selling, social workers newspapers or their different right organisations. But he used to. I used to remember him turning up right without any of that, and just used to be active, used to be right participant. But I didn't get. I wasn't particularly. I've talked to him a few times, but I didn't really. I wasn't close to it. I don't think I got to right know him well. But I think I would actually agree with everybody said. He always was quite reflective and quite principled in his way he acted. So yeah, very sad what's happened.
Okay, then thank you. Anybody else would like? So otherwise we can end this session. I will say a few words. I met Brian also in Aijaz and Phil's place for one of the parties. And at that meeting, somebody introduced me to him as a Maoist. I did not have an opportunity to discuss or anything, have a detailed discussion and come to know him more. Now I have come to know him more. But the first impression I have got of him was he was a genuine person. He was a happy person. That was the impression I thought. I liked him immediately. Though it was a crowd, I didn't get it. I wanted to talk to him. And I was very happy when he came into our group, and he was very active. He always made a point to come. And 2 meetings he didn't come. I thought, what happened? Just maybe he took a break. But then I got a letter saying that I'm not able, I'm sick. I cannot. I got an email from him saying that I am sick. I thought it was something small. Then we came to know that he had this serious sickness. I think he did not know. It was a sudden knowledge to him. I think the discovery was very late. I think otherwise we could have saved him. And maybe he remained happy, so he ignored all the sickness. I think that is the first feeling I got. I was looking forward to his presentation. He had promised that he would make a presentation. Unfortunately, we were deprived of a good friend and comrade. So thank you very much. We'll end this session. Go to our next part.